Assassin's Creed Origins has been out for about 3 weeks, and in that time I've spent my time making notes and writing up a comprehensive review, spoiler free of course, to tell you guys exactly what this game has to offer. I'll be making a spoiler review in which I directly go into story points, analysing what they did well and what they didn't. If you're interested on my thoughts on the spoilers, however, you can go ahead and listen to Kill Connor Club podcast episode 60, in which myself and Tyler are joined by Longed Fox and Fishy, and go in depth on our thoughts on the story elements. But as for this review, I'll stick to the main features being the visuals, combat and stealth, the world, the new RPG system, characters and story, soundtrack, and the negatives. So without further ado, let's hop into it. For most of us in the community, this game is exactly what we wanted. Everything for me is a step forwards, even the things that maybe weren't executed exactly perfectly. Everything is a nice step up from previous titles. 90% of what we talked about for nearly 2 years made its way into this game, and it's nice to see Ubisoft clearly listening to us and paying attention to all the videos we made during 2016. The RPG elements, the modern day, the customization, the narrative focus, and the challenging combat, all of these features really show that they've listened to a majority of the community. Now these things of course aren't going to please everyone, however given most of the community asked for these things, you can't blame them for going down that route. Unity flopped and Syndicate even more so. Not just was the franchise becoming tired, but it was becoming old. The style of open world games that Syndicate was trying to continue are becoming old fashioned. Check the description to watch my video about RPGs becoming the future of the open world game genre for more information about this. For the most part, however, they've entirely gone down the correct route and the sales show this, doubling the sales of Syndicate and only continuing to increase. This is the start of a brighter and better future for the Assassin's Creed franchise. The visuals look gorgeous. You can clearly see they used what they knew worked from Black Flag to make this game look nicer in terms of colouring and the scale of things in the world. Beyond the graphics obviously looking fantastic, they've used a system which works nicely, being that wherever you are in the world, they make sure you can see a landmark, so you're never in the middle of nowhere. You can always orient yourself in this world by seeing the pyramids or the Lighthouse of Alexandria. This adds so much to the beauty of the game. There's something so atmospheric about walking through villages or deserts with no HUD, just admiring the sand kicking up at your feet and the people going about their business. This game captures what it is to play an Assassin's Creed game, exploring these moments in history and doing it with the utmost style and elegance. The stealth in this game is pretty standard Assassin's Creed. This is definitely not a stealth-based game by any means. Having said that, you can definitely play it in that way. The game doesn't push stealth in your face, forcing you to use it at any point like previous Assassin's Creed games would. There are no constraints in missions which force you to not be detected, so it's never pushed. However, if you want to play the whole game stealthy, you completely can. There's a whole skill tree dedicated to it. Using your bow makes stealth even more accessible by giving you a silent, ranged attack. Any form of playstyle is going to take some work, and stealth is no different. You'll have to make sure that you level up your hidden blade with crafting by using resources you can find in the world. This is going to aid you greatly with stealth, allowing you to silently take down higher level enemies. The other side of this coin is the combat. Should you be thrust into combat, you're going to find it works very differently to previous Assassin's Creed titles. This isn't a negative, however. I can confidently say, at least for me anyways, that Origins has the best combat in the franchise. The combat system, to liken it to any other games, would be a nice cross between The Witcher 3 and Dark Souls in terms of the way it operates. The combat is now a hitbox-based system, which means the enemies have to be within range of your attacks for it to do damage. No more is the system of pressing the attack button and your character auto-attacking the nearest enemy. This means there's far more strategy involved. Your distance to the enemy matters, your weapon matters, your timing matters, whether you do light or heavy attacks matters, as does your shield. All these things makes the combat no longer a means to an end, but one of the core pillars of actual gameplay. The combat is now a reason to play the game and not mindless button mashing to get to the next cutscene, which is greatly improved. Enemies no longer attack once at a time. You'll get multiple enemies coming at Bayek at once, which means you need to utilize your shield for blocking as well as dodging to avoid attacks. Using the shield to block means you can parry at just the right moment to stun the attacker and perform a counter of sorts to deal plenty of damage. There are also finishing moves still in the game, but only when the combat scenario is complete, or if you use an overpower move, which is activated by pressing both of the attack buttons at the same time once your adrenaline meter is full. You can also enter a type of rage mode when your adrenaline meter is full, just depends on which weapon you use. When it comes to combat, as well as your weapon and its stats mattering, as does your level. If you're level 12 trying to fight even a level 16 enemy, you're going to have a hard time. That being said, it is possible to do, it'll just take a ton of practice. This gives the player incentive to level up and explore the world before moving on, because you don't want to enter the new area under-leveled, you want to be able to fight these enemies. With all these additions, the combat and stealth, I feel, is greatly improved in these areas, especially from Syndicate. When it comes to the world, you can tell this is the same team that brought us Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag was one of the greatest games for exploration I'd ever played, sailing around the open sea, discovering all these islands, jungles, and cities. They've taken this to a whole new level with Lower Egypt in Assassin's Creed Origins. They've mastered what it is to craft a world of this caliber. Before the game came out, myself amongst many others were worried that a world this big would be a classic Ubisoft empty world. They put my worries to rest when the game came out. There is so much to do in this world besides the main storyline. There are hundreds upon hundreds of side quests which all have their individual storylines, full of colourful and interesting characters. Some even have full-blown confession cutscenes when taking out a target, just like the main story. Like with any side quests, some are better than others, most feeling like mini side stories that keep you interested, some feel like main story quests, and some are small little errands to run. Without a doubt though, these quests are a huge part of making this world feel alive. Within the world, there are also locations to visit with things to complete, such as camps, treasure locations, tombs, and papyrus riddles. These offer very different ways to gain XP, as well as loot. For example, in camps, your objectives might be to take out a captain, commander, and loot 2 chests. Once complete, you'll gain a certain amount of XP. These offer extra things to do, but there is a negative factor when you notice that on the map, everything that is of interest is marked, meaning you know if there's a question mark somewhere, that there's something there. If there's no question mark, then it's likely pointless, which then makes the world feel a little bit bland. Noticing that everything between these marked question marks is useless empty space does ruin your immersion in the world at times. However, this is really just a nitpick on my part. I think removing the tombs, camps, and treasure locations from the map would be helpful for exploration and discovery, meaning any turn could have something or nothing. You wouldn't know because it's not marked on the map, meaning you traveling across a desert is meaningful because you don't know what's out there, rather than opening the map to see if there are any question marks. But like I said, I think this is more of a nitpick than anything else. The world is still expansive with plenty to do and see. I've currently 80 plus hours on the game, and there are still regions I haven't even entered yet. There's a huge variety of places to explore, from the Giza Plateau to the Nile Delta, all the way up to the northwest of the map in Cyrene. There's so many different areas, all with different environments, characters, and stories to keep you immersed and enjoying the world. Origins has gone full RPG. It's been leaning to RPG style ever since Black Flag, with the use of crafting for improvement of armor and weapons, plus the ships added a whole RPG layer, giving a sense of needing to level up your ship in order to take out higher level ships. Unity went down this route with high levels of customization, along with the difficulty of combat and varied weapons with all their differing stats. On top of this, they introduced the Paris stories, which felt a lot like mini side stories all over Paris, which was very RPG style, which was honestly one of the best parts about the game. Syndicate took a few steps back from Unity, however, increased the crafting elements and implemented a whole leveling system, meaning you'd have to take some time to gain XP before moving on to a higher leveled area. However, this level cap was level 10 and didn't offer much more than making the difficulty of the enemies higher as you progress through the story. Origins, however, has decided they needed to give AC a proper identity, which I feel had been missing since the end of the Ezio trilogy. Where were they to go with this but down the action RPG route, which has slowly been taking over the industry with The Witcher 3, Horizon Zero Dawn, Zelda Breath of the Wild, and many more. This new system opens up lots of opportunities for gameplay. For a start, the structure of quests is now far more open, rather than having a set of mission objectives such as go here, activate this mission, kill these guys and whatnot without being detected. If you fail, you restart. The game now allows you to start quests but entirely leave them until you want to come back. There are no longer mission markers which initiate main quests, they're just always active within the world, and you go over and do them when you feel necessary. This gives the player far more possibilities with how they complete certain quests. Sometimes you might accidentally complete a quest without realizing because you were exploring a tomb and found an item that someone sent you to find 30 hours ago and you entirely forgot about. It's this structure of questing that makes the world feel more alive and important, rather than just a backdrop to do things in when the game allows you. As for customization, I talked about the crafting system briefly before, but this new system means you have stats tied to items you can craft, making your outfit entirely cosmetic, meaning you don't have the Unity dilemma of wanting to look cool but also wanting to wear what has the highest stats. The weapons and gear also have their own ratings and also rarity, blue being uncommon, purple being rare, and gold being legendary. You'll know how much your gear is worth based on that. The higher the rarity, usually the higher the power rating. Something to add is you can upgrade weapons as you go. Say you find a weapon when you're like level 12, but you get to level 25 and this weapon is going to be weaker than the weapons you're now looting and enemies you're now fighting. However, take it to a blacksmith and upgrade it and your weapon will shoot up to your current level, meaning it's now far more fit to accompany you into battle. This is a feature I really like. The skill tree is something else which is greatly improved from something like Assassin's Creed Syndicate. It's less of a tree and more of a graph. It has 3 sections, Hunter, Warrior, and Seer, with each section covering a different playstyle: bows, swords and melee weapons, and stealth. You can choose which playstyle you prefer and pump skill points into that area of the skill graph. Another component to this is the Senu mechanic. I suppose it's not really part of the RPG category, but I had no idea where to put this, so I'll just go with it. Senu is essentially the best scouting mechanic in a video game. It works better than any other similar mechanics Ubisoft have implemented and doubles up as the Origins equivalent of the travel speed from Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, allowing you to view the beauty of Origins from the sky. By using Senu, you're able to find any nearby crafting items as well as tag enemies and scan for mission objectives. It's not entirely overpowered and you aren't forced to spend too much time within this mode. Starting off with characters, this game follows for the most part Bayek of Siwa, a man born and raised in the village of Siwa. His father trained him in the ways of the Medjai, ancient protectors who guarded the pharaohs of Egypt. Now they're left to protect the people of Egypt from corruption. Bayek is the last of these Medjai. His quest takes him from his small village all over the country of Egypt, taking down evildoers and helping the people of his country. The story itself from the get-go is incredibly well written. There are some hiccups here and there with some pacing issues. I found these were mainly evident within the first hour, where things can get a little bit jumbled up. It only takes a few moments to put the pieces together, but it can be a little bit tricky. The rest of the story, however, gets better and better with tons of twists and moments that really pull at your heartstrings. The performance from Abubakar Salim just makes Bayek all the better. All of his lines are delivered with such power and emotion. One of my favorite lines is from the beginning of the game, and it's Bayek's opening speech. Every time I listen to it, I just get shivers from how well it's performed. I feel connected to Bayek and I understand his struggle. I want him to succeed, and this is key to having a good protagonist, relatability. And although he's not directly relatable as a character to most of us, the good writing allows us to entirely understand him and his feelings, and that's simply incredible characterization. As an origin story for the Brotherhood, there's not much I can say without spoiling some of the greatest moments in the game, but I will say I believe this is exactly what it needed to be. It achieves some of the hardest things that a franchise can attempt with 10 years of investment, showing how everything we've seen came to be. I'm happy to say it was done incredibly well. There are a lot of people saying they changed the lore, which is simply not the case. They didn't contradict anything previously stated, only added and filled in gaps where we knew nothing or didn't know enough. With this being the origin of the Brotherhood, of course Bayek isn't the only character we get close to. There's also Aya. She's Bayek's wife and they've been in love ever since they were kids. I think due to reading the novel Desert Oath before playing the game, I'm a little bit biased when it comes to Aya since I'd already come to like her in the novel, and so I liked her more when playing the game. A lot of people have said they were indifferent with her character and she felt a little bit pointless until the late game, which I suppose I can understand, but to me I really enjoyed Aya and her relationship with Bayek was very, very well portrayed, and it made me care for her the same way Bayek did. Other than those two characters, however, there weren't really any others we got necessarily any development with. There were a few interesting people through the story, but nobody that was necessarily important. As for the modern day, it was there, I don't know what else to say. Anything I say is kind of a spoiler, so I guess I'll just leave that and move on. The soundtrack is sick. Oh, you want me to say more? Okay. The soundtrack is by Sarah Schuckner, and it perfectly encapsulates not only ancient Egypt, but also Assassin's Creed. If you're a fan of Jesper Kid's work, then you're gonna love this. There's certain tracks that play at just the right points and definitely jerk those tears. Some of my favorites include Ezio's Family, the Origins rendition, Nomads of the White Desert, I Walk on Your Water, the Assassin's Creed Origins main theme, and Bayek of Siwa. There's so many good ones, but that's just to name a few. As for things I'd like for them to change, I'm just going to list a few of the things I can think of off the top of my head. We need to be able to dye all of the outfits whichever colors we choose. Too many of the outfits look good, but I don't like them due to the coloring. We need to sort out some of the microtransactions. That Nightmare Pack is certainly not worth £12. Get the f*** out. Remove some of the markers so not every single thing is marked on the map. We still need markers for some things, but allow for exploration to be rewarded rather than telling us from the get-go. If there's a question mark, it's important. If it's not, then don't bother going there. Modern Day needs more optional dialogue similar to AC1 to give it more substance, context, and investment. There's a few pacing issues towards the start, but it's not really that bad. Overall, that's all I can think of right now. This game was a fantastic comeback for Assassin's Creed. It hasn't brought the franchise back the way most people think. I believe it's started again. This is a fresh start which acknowledges its past and moves on to bigger, better, and different things. This is an exciting start for the future of Assassin's Creed. Overall, I'd give this game a solid 8.8 out of 10. I really love this game and can't wait to see where they take it in the future. Please give us a sequel with Bayek. Let's see more of this period and this character. Don't throw him away like you have done with everyone since Altair and Ezio. You've got a hit on your hands here. Do not waste it. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to stay up to date. I'd really appreciate it. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time.
You people have suffered too long. It's time we take a stand. Unite, 'cause together we're strong. Defy and take my hand. I'm hearing whispers on the wind, born from the shadows, origins. Are these the flames I see?